Good afternoon. So in the spirit of the topic of the conversation I'm about to have with you, being authentic, I did not rehearse this. You're about to get 18 minutes of me unplugged. I'm going right off that cliff. So when I talk about being authentic and being real, it seems a very simplistic thing to talk about, but I find when I talk, especially to young women, a lot of times in universities, it really resonates, and it resonates at a very deep level. I have lots of people cry, and lots of people come and talk to me afterwards. So to demonstrate, to start off, I want to tell you a story. I'm Irish, I'm from Dublin, and we only know one way to communicate, and that's through storytelling. So in one of those talks I was giving at one of your local universities here in Halifax, I assumed I was coming into a room full of young people, beautiful young people like you guys are here today. And not that they weren't beautiful, but they were my age and older. And I was shocked when I walked in, and a lot of them were lawyers and doctors and accountants and very accomplished people. And I thought, what the hell am I going to talk to these people about? But anyway, I decided to do my talk. And I did my talk, and it's all about finding your own personal why and the why in your organization, as well as your own sort of authentic self, and bringing that to bear and the power of what that can do. When I'd finished that talk, it was dead silence. And I was standing at the podium thinking, oh boy, where's the exit sign? How do I get out of here? And then a man stood up, and he was a very big man. And this group had only started to come together as an MBA class. They'd only known each other less than a week. And he started to speak, and I instantly knew by his energy that this was going to be a powerful moment. And he said, my mother grew up a Presbyterian, very, very strict. And she was a good mother. She lived a good life. But in her latter years, she got Alzheimer's disease. And for the most part, when you would visit her, she didn't know who you were. She had no idea. But in one of those visits, he visited her. She actually had a lucid moment, and she knew that he was her son. And he said to her, Mom, how are you? How are you doing? And she said, son, I can finally be me. You don't want to wait till you have Alzheimer's. You don't want to wait till you have a major health crisis to say, I can finally be me. This man stood there with tears in his eyes in this MBA class and said, from here on in, he said, after hearing what you talked about, it resonated with me, the story of my mother saying, I can finally be me. I'm going back to my place of work. I'm going back to my family, back to where I live, and I'm only going to be me. And it was a profound moment. And as I looked around the room, I saw some of these accomplished grown men in tears. And so I knew then that while I would think this is a simplistic message, it's obviously a message that needs to keep being told. So what you see here is what you get, and there are people who work with me in this audience, and they will tell you this is exactly who I am. So how did I get to be this way? How did I get to be confident enough to stand here for 18 minutes and babble on without having rehearsed it? Well, I have to take you back to when I was 11, and it was in November, and it was in Dublin, Ireland. And I started my schooling in a Catholic all-girls school run by nuns, and it never was a good experience. In fact, I used to fear going to school. When I look at kids now, my youngest daughter's a teacher, and how creative the classroom is, I think, oh my God, I could have thrived in that kind of environment, but that wasn't the environment I went to school in. And in this particular day, after having been there for several years and having been hit by rulers and just generally being squashed, I was dragged out in front of a class, my own class. Now, you're 11 years of age, you're a young girl, and you don't want to be seen out, you want to hide, you're just trying to find yourself. And I was proceeded, the nuns basically talked about all my faults, about how stupid I was, and basically a waste of space. My soul was ripped out. I went home, and I still have, because I believe in spirituality. I have this grandmother who basically thought the sun shined out of me. She just adored me. I knew I was the favorite. She decided that she would dress up. She lived across the street. She was a Republican, but she actually looked like the Queen. And so she dressed up, put her brooch on, hat on, the whole 9 yards, and forced me back to the school. And I didn't want to go, but I would never disappoint her, so I went back. And she proceeded to insist that the head nun and everybody else in the whole class were in the room. And then she said, I want you all to be silent and I want you to hear me. And she proceeded to talk about the real me, the creative me, the curiosity, the world that I dreamed of and who I was. And then she turned around and she threatened every single one of them that if they actually touched a hair on my head, that they would not wish to be breathing in the next moment. What I saw in that moment was a couple of things. I had a champion and a mentor, and I think everybody needs that in life. But I also saw that bullying comes in different forms. It comes in ways that are passive-aggressive. It comes in ways that are in authority figures. But when you stand up to it, when you actually show the real you, you'd be surprised at how they cower and how they go back. From that moment on, nobody ever did that again to me, and I was never not my true self. That's not to say things got easier. In fact, I used to have a chair outside the classroom, so I was actually truly self-taught. But my whole life, I have lived to be just myself. And also what I have expected is an extraordinary life, and I've gotten one. So I wanted to do a TED Talk. Here I am. I wanted to see the inside of Coco Chanel's private apartment that's not open to the public. I got there. I wanted to be on Oprah's book club. I got there. I wanted to run a foundation for women and children. I got there. One of the saddest moments was when I was in an art gallery in New York, and I saw 6 beautiful tapestries. And when I read the little piece that tells you about the tapestries, these were the first pieces of art that were ever claimed to be created by women. And I sat there and I wept. And I thought, all of the stories that haven't been told, all of the art that hasn't been created, all of the science that hasn't been innovated, has been suppressed for centuries. Finally now, we're coming out. Women are coming out. They're creating. They're writing. They're being involved in politics, in business. But we need more of you. And you need to start living your life and being yourself. You need to lean in and take it on. You need to be on the cliff. You need to do what I'm doing right now, and that's take a chance. You'll fail. You'll be vulnerable. But in the end, you will have extraordinary things happen to you. I decided today to dedicate this TED Talk to someone that I only know on the periphery, and that's Jody Ross. She's the daughter of one of my staff, one of my team, Mary Teresa Ross. And Jody has been in the IWK for most of her life. She's been very ill. And then she transitioned to the adult system. And I don't think a month goes by that Mary Teresa doesn't talk about Jody being in the hospital with some illness or another. And this week, Jody arrested and basically died for 23 minutes. But they brought her back. But they put her in an induced coma. And she was in that coma for a couple of days, and all of us have been praying really hard for her family and, really empathizing with what's going on. And so last night, I had a very busy day yesterday, and I thought, oh my God, I have to do a TED Talk today. How am I going to do this? And I was looking for real inspiration. And last night, I got a text very late, and it said, Jody has come out of her coma. And she turned to her mother and said, it's not my time to go, I still got a lot of shit to do. Now, if Jody Ross can do that, that's true courage. Courage you own. Courage you give away to bullies when you give permission to be bullied. Expectations are something you have to put upon yourself. They're not from somebody else, but all of us live in a world where we're expected to be a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way. And I'm here to say, you have to do the work on the inside, not the outside. You have to start understanding what your personal why is. And what I mean by that is, what's your juice? What do you make time for in your day more than any other thing in your life? Follow that thread. When I talk like this and I'm in universities, I see particularly young women come to me and say, I don't even know why I'm studying this course. I don't even know why I'm here. And I go, well, start at the beginning. Start doing your homework on yourself. Life is, I'm not sure why people are so afraid, because life is here to be lived. It's here to be a joy. You heard Holly speak about being open. I have always been open, and I fully expect an extraordinary life. That doesn't mean I don't work hard. And it doesn't mean when you're being authentic that you're going to get everything you want. What it means is that you're authentic in what you do. You're real. And you don't worry about what size you are. You don't worry about how you look or how much of a fool you might make of yourself. You have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and to give of yourself and to put yourself out and also to be very grateful for what happens to you. I can't count the amount of experiences I've had. I'm an immigrant. When I was going to school, they said I had two choices, probably, in their estimation, limited estimation. They said, you either will probably go into politics, but more than likely you'll end up in jail. Well, I came to Canada, and Canada's been very good to me. And it was a wide open blank canvas. And for someone like me to end up having opportunities like I've had, working at the CBC and going across this magnificent country and meeting some of the leaders of this country, meeting celebrities, even Mr. Dress-Up, I saw his tickle trunk, all of that stuff. I mean, for somebody who is not from here to have those opportunities is pretty extraordinary. And I'm just ordinary. I'm just like everybody else. The difference being I have decided and made the decision internally to always follow my inner gut, my inner instincts, and to be myself. And people either like that or they don't. Not everybody's going to love you. But you've got to start standing up. Women especially, you have to become your own self. You have to find it within you. Make the choice and be confident enough to stand on the ground, as I say, in my boots, and be powerful. And say, here I am, and I'm here for a reason, I'm here for a purpose, and I'm here to enjoy life. So I put the challenge out to all of you in honor of someone like Jody, who's at the hospital right now in Halifax, fighting for her life, but willing to say, I'm back and I'm going to do this. If she could be in any one of our shoes right now, she would give it all to be there. But she isn't, but she's still being her, and she's still living her life the best way she can. So I encourage all of you, and I challenge you, especially young women, take it, hold it, go for the gold, go for everything you want in life. Don't hold back. Don't assume you don't know, you're not as smart as the next person. But mostly, more than anything, be real. And remember those tapestries. Remember all the lost hundreds of years of brilliance that could have been in this world had we not have been so suppressed. And take it from here out and change this world, starting with changing yourself and being real. Thank you very much.